So Farangis, have you shared the screen? Okay. So hello everyone, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us and being with us. Right now we are having some technical problems. As soon as we share the screen, we will start. Thank you for understanding.
So I think everything is fixed now, is it? Okay, so guys, can you please type if you can see the screen too? Okay, good. So good afternoon once more. Today we are very happy to welcome here at Teaching Vocabulary in a Creative Way webinar. So we are Dilraba Babakolova, Farangis Mamadiva, and Tatiana Khan will be presenting to you our new technical things and present to you how to teach vocabulary in a more creative way and engage your students and grab their attention. So let's move. Coming to our agenda, Parangis, can you please move this slide? Thank you. So coming to our agenda, we will speak a little bit. Why is it important to teach vocabulary? What are the basic steps of vocabulary teaching? And we will talk about vocabulary tips that might be very useful for us, for teachers, and some common mistakes that teachers make. So coming to the next part, to the main body of our webinar, we will talk about offline and online tools that can be used easily in your classrooms, and we will conclude our presentation. But for now, let's see what you will be able to do after this very webinar. So first thing, you will use the tips and strategies to teach vocabulary in a more engaging way, in a more creative way. Secondly, you will creatively use vocabulary tools which are based for online and offline classrooms, and then you will be able to develop your own creative materials for your students according to their level and according to the materials that you provide to them. Now let's have a little bit of time to think. Why do we need to teach vocabulary? Can you please type or just unmute your microphone and say if you wish? Are there any volunteers maybe? So why is it important to teach vocabulary? And how do you usually do that? In explicit or implicit way? Guys, you're welcome to type or to say.
Okay. I think without teaching vocabulary, we couldn't teach any language to learners. So that's why I think it's foundation of teaching. That's just teaching vocabulary, and it's crucially important.
Okay, thank you very much, Mirkasim, right? Thank you for your contribution. Yes, you're totally right. Without vocabulary, we would not be able to understand any kind of language, right? And in order to have that comprehension of what other people in foreign language are saying, this is very important to know. Yes, and I can see that some people are typing here. Vocabulary is the main part of teaching and learning languages. Yes, you're totally right. And Labarhan has written that vocabulary is the base of the language. Yes, of course. Any kind of language consists of some words and phrases that we have to use properly. Okay, we need vocabulary to improve more our language. Of course, we need that vocabulary to make our students understand the world, right? Just to understand the culture of other language. Okay, Firoza, thank you very much for your contribution. Vocabulary is something that we continue to learn and develop throughout our entire lives. It is unconstrained skill. While some vocabulary is acquired implicitly through everyday interactions, yes, of course, it is important to teach more complex and technical vocabulary explicitly. Yes, you're totally right, because it is quite rare vocab. Yeah, and Barno has written, rich vocabulary opens students to speak confidently. Okay, yes, of course. So the more words that our students know, the easier it is for them to speak about something and express their own thoughts. That's good. And do you know any creative ways in teaching vocabulary? So have you ever used extraordinary ways how to teach? Okay, if you did, can you please share? Yes, games, of course. Funny games. Yes, students love fun. Okay, anything else?
Maybe crosswords.
Yes,
Using
of course.
keyboard.
Crosswords. Good. Thank you. Now let's have a look at the other slide. Okay, thank you everybody for your contribution to our presentation. Now let's have a look at some steps of vocabulary teaching. So the first initial step of teaching any kind of vocabulary in the language is presentation of the new words, right? So it might entail guessing or predicting words in the context, which might entail like showing them videos or making them to listen to specific words in the songs. Showing lexical relations might be identification of prefixes, affixes, or just to find out the synonyms or antonyms of it, using visual images. Of course, this is very important. Once they see, they can understand the word better. And other techniques that might include just simply translation or explanation of the word. Second step might entail helping students remember these new words by using review games such as bingo game, memorization games, and activities. We will discuss them a bit later. So, and learning with friends. Of course, cooperative learning is very important. So students learn more when they interact, of course. And the last step entails making sure students to use new words. So it might be production activities such as sentence completion or just sentence production, yes, creating up some stories and personalizing new words. By personalizing, we mean that the students will be able to use these words in their own speech when they are when they are eager to express their own feelings. It might be just block leading, or it can be even diary writing, or it can be free writing, or just creative writing exercises for them. Thank you. Now, my colleague will continue with the next steps of it. Dr. Rabo will speak about the tips.
Thank you, Tanya. Now it's time to speak about vocabulary teaching tips. I will provide only 6 of them here in this presentation, but there are actually much more which you can use in order to make your vocabulary lesson more interesting and engaging. So the first one, spend a lot of class time vocabulary teaching. It means like in general, when we teach vocabulary, we use very little time, we spare very little time for teaching vocabulary for new words. Actually, according to the research, at higher level, like at the pre-intermediate level somewhere, students should be able, like person should be able to use 8,000 word families. You know what word family is? So word family is, for example, the words which belong to the same group. For example, educate, education, and educated. So students should know about 5,000 of them. It means in total, they should be able to use 20,000 words in order to understand the text. That's why we have to allocate more time for teaching vocabulary. The second tip is repeat again and again. So according to the research, students will learn new word if the word is repeated from 6 till 16 times. Why we have to repeat so many times? Because we live in a country where English is as a foreign language. We don't hear English around us, and we cannot watch on TVs, and the people around us don't speak. That's why during the lesson, it's our task, the teacher's task, to repeat the words. So how you can repeat so many times? For example, if you teach a new vocabulary in the lesson, just revise it at the end of the lesson one more time. So in the next lesson again, review the vocabulary which you covered in previous lesson, and after maybe 3 or 4 lessons, maybe 1 or 2 weeks, again revise by asking yes, no. For example, if they remember that word or if they don't remember, just remind them to review the vocabulary, the new words that cover it. That's why it's very important. Like it might be impossible to repeat about 6 to 16 times, but at least revise each word about 3 or 4 times during your teaching. So the next tip is teach multi-word items. So multi-word items means phrases, chunks, and expressions. Those expressions are ready ones, so you cannot just divide them. If you divide, they will give another meaning. That's why your students should learn them as they are. So if you teach your vocabulary, 10% of your teaching should contain from expressions, from multi-word items, so that your students will learn how to use them pragmatically correct as well. So the next tip is teach new word plus what it goes with. So you have to teach collocations. For example, when you teach the word angry, give the word with also, preposition with, angry with. When you teach afraid, just tell them that afraid is used with of, afraid of. In this way, your students will learn better and their vocabulary, range of vocabulary just increases easily. Or another word, like if you teach fast, you can teach fast food, the words which may go with fast, or quick review. For example, we never say, like the native speakers never say quick food. If the students just mix up, translate from their own language directly into English and say quick food, it might sound a little bit awkward. That's why we should be able to give the exact words to use in English language. So the next tip is get students to present new vocabulary and design tests. It means you don't always need to prepare to teach new words. You may just ask from your students to prepare their own presentations where they will just explain the meanings of new words. They can get ready at home and show it during the lesson. If any corrections needs, you will just provide. But anyway, if they get ready at home, they will learn more, and it will be very interesting task for them. If we speak about designing tests, it has a lot of advantages. So the first advantage is self-review. Students will review all new words, then lower test anxiety. So actually, if they know what questions they will have in the test, they will not be so much nervous. And the last one is feeling of test ownership. So they will be proud of creating their own tests. And the last but not the least tip is never say never. Actually, as you are teacher of the students, you know your students very well, much better than others. So that's why you can just select any kind of activity and modify them according to the level, age, needs of your students. Actually, you're the best judge. So these tips were provided by one of the greatest linguistics professors, Penny Ur, who wrote many methodology books. You may watch her webinar where she provided about 20 tips where the link which is provided below. You may just go and learn a lot because she gave so many ideas to make the vocabulary lesson interesting and interactive. And now my Our colleague will continue speaking about the common mistakes that teachers do in teaching vocabulary.
So, hello everyone. I'm so glad to see you all here. So, raise your hand if you think that teaching vocabulary is difficult more than other skills. Raise your hand if you think that teaching vocabulary is difficult. Okay. I see two people are already raised their hand, Miss Sama and Zulaiha. And here we can clarify 5 main mistakes of teaching vocabulary. Now I am going to explain those 5 mistakes. Mistake number 1, not teaching vocabulary. We see that there are still lots of teachers who just send the list of vocabulary who just send a list of vocabulary and make the learners to learn it by heart, you know? And after that, if our goal as educators is to enable students to communicate with great precision, we need to ensure that students can accurately use the words we teach them. They need to be able to craft sentences using the word and identify appropriate context for it. To truly develop a good vocabulary, students need guided lessons. They need us, they need teachers, they need clear instructions with clear activities and with clear approaches. So, if I turn to mistake number 2, it's only teaching the main specific words. What does it mean? It means, so in my research, it gives the main 3 tier ones where vocabulary, where there are 3 main tiers of vocabulary words where teachers, instead of having students fill out another vocabulary worksheet, uh, they don't ask them to write a paragraph using the new words. Teachers here should ask them to write a paragraph using the new words to have the clear notion, to make them understand deeply. The first style is the words that students don't need to be taught because they already them when they come to school. They are the word chairs, tables, and cup, baby, and the words from the elementary level. And the tier 2 is uh, frequency words that students don't already know but will likely see in grade level text, like a bit complicated vocabularies that they will know later. And the tier 3 is the words that contain specific words that pertain to a specific subject, like coming from the words uh, photosynthesis or compass or other else. Here, if you think that your learners if you want your learners to be expert at their language, you have to be careful with their words. So the words they need to improve is their reading comprehension, and the test scores are actually the tier 2 words. So you don't have to just focus on the 3, but you just have to focus on their needs first. The mistake number 3 is teaching obscure words, where it means don't teach words that you see in any context that you are reading currently. For example, do not teach the words of technical terms to the medicine students. They don't need it. Or it's not okay to get any context or any vocabulary from any reading material for your students. You have to be a bit specific in their needs and a bit specific in their wants. Mistake number 4 is relying on dictionaries, which means most of teachers still, I'm sorry, but still, we have teachers who just gave the context, reading context to the students and make them just to get the answers, to get the definition of words from the dictionaries. They're not providing any additional explanation to the words or additional matching context to the word or additional activities for them to make them to understand it. And the final mistake is the 5, not making vocabulary fun, where if where teachers do not make it a bit, if the students are having difficult issues with the understanding, you have to simplify the words and you have to make it a bit fun by simplifying, by using the different activities and different tools, digital online tools. So here, in the next slides, we are going to provide you with some fun activities and useful practical activities for your classroom. Daria?
Thank you very much, Francis. Yes, now I'm gonna move to the next part of our main body part. Yeah, so we will talk a little bit about creative classroom activities that can be easily implemented in our offline classrooms. So as Vilga Rivers said, that vocabulary cannot be like easily taught, yes, but it should be presented, perceived, and then produced and also included in all of the activities. So now let's have a look at the first activity, which is called POP. So this kind of activity's objective is just to strengthen vocabulary bank of your students by means of just revision of the words or just learning of new words. And sometimes this can also be used as error correction exercise for them. So what you need to do is just to prepare special cards or ask even your students just to write these words that they have learned during the lesson, throughout the lesson or throughout the week. Okay, and then just include these cards into the popcorn cup. So as you know, all of the students, just mainly teens, prefer eating some refreshments, right? And you can even award them at the end of this lesson. So you can ask your students when they are taking the card and seeing the word itself, you can ask them for definition for this word. You can ask synonyms or antonyms, or you can even ask them to produce something to make a story on this word or just to make the sentence. So this creative activity works very well. Just believe me, I've tried with my own students. So why? This is very useful just and effective to make them recall everything throughout, not what they have learned throughout the lesson. For today's lesson, you can put there the popcorn cards that you have learned throughout the month or even a week, couple of weeks even. So next is that this very activity entails higher order thinking skills. So students have to provide the sentences, students have to revise this word, tells a part of the speech. Next, this is very useful for revision and just having fun with these students. Just believe me, this might be very effective for you. So coming to the next activity, we will speak about headbands. Yes, do you love when your students are laughing a lot? Or making some noise, but not so much, of course. Yes, in this case, headbands is really thing for you. So this very activity's objective is again to develop the range of vocabulary. This might be very useful in order to revise the vocabulary and to introduce the new vocabulary for the lesson, like topical vocabulary. So you can play this very activity like a game within 2 teams or with the peers. So what you need to do here is to have a special band, something that might keep this card on their head, and just put the card with the word itself on their head. So and ask other students to define but not to give the same word. They have to explain, giving examples, giving contextualized situations. They might provide synonyms or antonyms, but not saying the same exact word. So why it is useful? This is very useful for recalling the vocabulary. Of course, other students have to revise everything in order to recall the antonym or synonym of it. They have to be very creative in order to explain and win this game, right? And this is very useful just in order to revise the words that they have learned. Again, you can use this throughout the vocabulary that you have learned during the weeks or a couple of weeks. Okay, coming to the next activity, which is very, very analytical. So this is called Two Truths and a Lie. Students love this a lot, actually. So it might seem a little bit simple as it sounds so, but it is very, very useful. So what you need to do here is just to take some cards on a piece of paper and ask your students to write 3 sentences about the word that they are provided. For example, in the first one, they might be given the ask for definition or description of this word. The second thing that they might write the sentence or a phrase that is related with unrelated words. I mean synonyms or antonyms for this, and they might also include the part of speech of it. And the third thing that they have to write, it might be a sentence with a contextualized example of it, or just simply just to write the situation that where they can use this word. As an example, you can see here the word ubiquitous. So for the first, as a definition and description, it's given like ubiquitous is a kind of like a block. Even if you don't like, you can get rid of it, which is actually true, and its usage is right. So next sentence is about ubiquitous is an adverb. Actually, it's not an adverb, it's an adjective. So that means it's a lie sentence. And the third one, if cockroaches were ubiquitous, I would move to Mars, which is actually, according to the context, it is used appropriately. Therefore, students have to analyze all of the 3 sentences and find out the lie one. So why this very activity is useful? The first thing that, again, it might help them to recall and analyze all the vocabulary that they have learned. It is very engaging. Actually, we force students to speak a lot during the lesson. And of course, while speaking, other students or just listening to other students' responses, they can remember the lies and truths about this very word, specific word. So the retention of the word lasts longer in their minds. So coming to the next activity, Farangis will continue with that.
Yeah, thank you, Tanya. So, we all wonder where to start teaching vocabulary if they are multilingual or differentiate students in our classroom. If we don't know their level of vocabulary and we are the teachers of vocabulary, we a bit stuck in the same place. So here we are providing a useful platform for you to check out your learners vocabulary range. And plus, you may use it instead of questionnaire or instead of any other interviews before starting the class. Why to use this? To be clear in the level of your learners, in the level of or your learners' vocabulary, and to be clear of uh, to to be clear of in the knowledge where you can teach them from where or what parts of the uh, no, what parts of the material you want to teach. So in the here in another activity where very practical material. We called it with my colleagues like box game, not a boxing but box game. Here you are going to write all new words. Make sure that you can use this activity for teaching new words, new vocabulary, and new topic. First thing is you are going to write down new words with no definition, with no information, and with no explanation at all. And put the old paper onto the box and ask the students to pick one of them. Tell them that they are not going to explain the definition of new word, yet they are going to make a sentence.
Sawan.
You know? without looking at without looking at dictionaries or without looking at books. They're going to just make a sentence. They are going to use their imagination here. It will take about couple of minutes, and after couple of minutes you are going to give the real definition, the real meaning of the sentence, or of the word, I'm sorry, of the word. And after that, ask your students to read once again their sentence and make them understand the meaning their sentence. Look here, you may use this activity as a fun, but using the here, this is the funniest way to make students learn from their mistakes. You will have like a lot of fun in this activity, but very practical as well. So Miss Derabo will explain the next activity for you.
So thank you, Farangis. So I will speak about activity 5, which is called silly sentences. This activity is also very interesting. Actually, you may modify it for a different level of students for different ages. So why it's called silly sentences? Because you will create a sentence, or you may just take any kind of reading material which can be interesting for your students and choose some of the words from the text. You can choose one word from each sentence or one word from 2 or 3 sentences and change it to the newly created word by you. You can see example on the screen also as well. For example, after dinner, I was so musled from the day's busy activities that I felt asleep early. You see here the word musled is created by the teacher, and students' task will be to read the sentences, to read the text, and try to try to replace the created word with the new one, with the real word which can match there. And at the same time, this activity is very useful for teaching the parts of speech, because in the previous example, you see it's written severely, which is actually adverb. So students can learn that ly is adverb. So here adverb should be used. Or in the second example, ed is added, which means past simple. So in this way, you can teach parts of speech at the same time. So in general, this activity helps to improve the vocabulary of students. Actually, it is very useful, very helpful to teach vocabulary in context. Not to teach vocabulary separately, but have to use the words in a given text. Then it helps also identify meaning of words in the context. So students will just analyze the words. As a result, they will be able to develop their critical thinking skills. As I mentioned before, it helps to find out parts of speech as well. And you can use it for lower level also as well, by providing only one sentence. As you see here, the picture of the king who is just holding the ring. So by looking at the picture, by reading the sentence, students will be able to analyze the sentence and try to replace the created word. So well, and now I will speak about the next activity, activity 6, which is called context clues. This is also working. This is also working in the context. For this, you will provide one article to your students. I think it will be better if students work in groups of 3 people. So students will just sit together, start reading the text, and underline all unknown words. But make sure that the level of the text is appropriate to the level of your students, because there shouldn't be too many words which may lead them to confusion. That's why try to choose one which is very suitable for them. So they will just underline the words, and together they will discuss all the unknown words. Maybe they will teach each other. You will provide at the same time the table, which is given on the right side. So in the table, it's written unknown words, clues for the text, and prediction of meaning. So in the first column, students have to write down the unknown words. In the second column, they will write down the words which help them to understand the meaning, like hints. And in the third one, they will write down their predictions. When the activity finishes, when all groups finish with their predictions, finding out the new words. They will present it to the group, and with the teacher, they will try to check it. So why to use this activity in your teaching? Because first of all, it increases their vocabulary. Students will be able to guess the meaning of the words. And of course, as they have to read the text, it will broaden their horizon. And now we will speak about some tools, creative tools, which can be used in online lessons.
So thank you very much, Rabo. Well, yes, just do be sure that after implementation such activities in your very classroom, your students will enjoy it a lot. And of course, the eagerness to learn vocabulary will sparkle in them. So, but now let's move to our creative tools that can be implemented online. So the first one is called Vocabulary, and it has its special site, which is vocabulary.com. This site somehow resembles Kahoot, as you know, but this one is a bit different. Vocabulary can be looked through the lists, so you can search let's say useful vocabulary that you need in the searching booth. So once you type the word, it might be nature, it might be environment, anything, globalization, as you wish. So the searching tool provides you with the list of words and the articles or books or texts, whatever that you wish, and it provides the list of vocabulary that you can practice with your students. Other option can be the ready-made vocabulary list that is taken from the adapted version of books, which is very useful for your students to make them read the article or adapted version of the literature fiction, and then they have to analyze the, let's say, the vocabulary which is unknown, might have been unknown for them. So another option can be that you can create your own list. So as you can see it here in the right bottom side, you can see here a Tuesday quiz on technology that I've created for my own students. And here you can see 3 icons, like for practicing, for spelling bee, and for vocabulary jam. Vocabulary jam, it is approximately the same that you have used with Kahoot. By coming to practice and spelling bee, this is something new. So you can share this link with your students and assign these tasks as their homework, so you can see the results afterwards, and you can limit the attempts for doing this practice. But coming to the next slide, in the next slide, you can see how practice looks like. So for example, there is the word environment, and they have to identify the meaning of it or the contextual version of this word's usage. And after that, on the right side, you can see the explanation of this word. They can see just the origin of this word, which is also useful. Some students might be very interested in that. And one more thing here is that students can listen to these words, not only the words, but the overall explanation, which is very useful to let's say impose English word in their listening as well. So they will be able to listen to this word and pronounce this correctly. Then in spelling bee part, they have to listen to the word and then try to write it down, just need to type it. They will not be limited in their, let's say, attempts of writing. However, they can guess the word by means of pressing that your guess. The system will provide them with alternative synonyms or antonyms with it, with the usage of some prefixes, which might ease in the work of students to work with that. Again, students will be able to listen to this word correctly and improve their pronunciation of these words as well. Well, coming to the next slide, I will speak about another tool, which is called Tools for Educators. This is the complex of tools that can be used easily in order to create your unique worksheets for your students. If you enter the site, which is provided below, so this site provides different options to create online worksheets as well as printable worksheets. So the first, you can see here word search. So students have to search for the words that is according to the context might be, or according to the picture. The next one is dice makers. So students love playing dices, yes, especially when some vocabulary is provided there or with some questions. So board games can be used as well as online and offline version of them. So it is also very interesting. Crossword maker, as you know, crosswords are one of the basic activities that can be easily implemented in your teaching. Bingo boards, again, it is very useful in order to introduce new vocabulary and, of course, in order to revise that. Maze maker, it might seem something new. So you can see the pictures there, and there is a maze. Actually, there students might be asked to describe the picture by using appropriate vocabulary, or just to describe the word if you want to make it not a picture but a word. And then while moving to another picture or just moving to another word, they have to speak anything that they know about this word. It might be a part of speech, it might be like provision of synonyms or antonyms or giving definitions. If they lack of ideas, they have to create sentences and give descriptions of it. So, and the last thing is domino maker. Domino maker, it is usually the activity that can be easily implemented with younger learners. It is not that much appropriate for adults. However, this one is very useful for younger learners in order to recall the vocabulary according to the pictures. So when, as you know, let's say younger learners, they learn easily when they see and when they listen and read. So therefore, this might be very, very useful for them. But coming to the next, I have prepared the example on the next slide. This is for word search. So you can see here the screen of the site. I just copied here. So here in the first, you have got 10 images, and I have to just click on the word and select the image. So database provides lots of pictures actually, and then right after the picture, I have to write down the word that it might let's say represent. So after just fulfilling both of these columns, I can choose the puzzle case, I mean the shift of it, the direction of the words, the font, the size, and hint type. So sometimes it might be very useful just to use the text in order to not to confuse your students with the spelling part, or if they are quite advanced, you can use images as well. And on the right side, you can see the ready-made worksheet that was prepared like as an example. So if you follow this link, you can easily create your own according to the materials that you have learned with your students. So now the robot will continue with another tool.
So thank you, Tanya, for such a great explanation and great tools to use in online lessons. And I will provide another one, which is called WordWall. Actually, the link is given below, as you see. This is wordwall.net. And I found it very interesting and handy because this activity, this tool can be used both in offline lessons as well by just demonstrating your screen, or you can assign it as a home task for your learners, or during the online lessons, you can play it with your learners. And at the same time, it's interactive. So before creating any kind of tools, like with the help of this tool, creating any kind of handouts, you have to sign up to start creating, which is given here on the right side. You will just press it. When you press that button, you will be directed to another page where you can easily sign up with the help of your Gmail account. It's not so difficult. You will just press it and press your Gmail account. That's it, and you're already a member of WordWall. So there are easy 3 steps again, which you have to use in order to create your own printed materials, or let's say the online tools to use during the lesson. So first of all, you will go and as it's shown on the screen, choose the template. Actually, there are 18 templates for free. After it, you will just enter your context. So you will write down what kind of words you want to be tested. And in the last step, everything is ready. You will just see what is given there. And one more advantage of this tool is that there are ready materials also as well, which we can use for free without any difficulties. So in the next slide, you can see the names of the templates. So these ones are for free, like offered for free. The first one is matchup. Here you may just ask your students to match the words with the definitions and create special tool. And I really like the second one. This can be used with little kids also as well. Whack-a-mole, which means like if the students see the exact word that they need, they will just click on the mole and it will work. And this is a lot of fun for them. And one more thing which I really like here is about random wheel. You can use random wheel for not only checking the vocabulary, but as well for example, to choose the members of the groups as well, like as a speaker or for other purposes. And hangman game is also here. And as Tanya also mentioned, a crossword was given in the previous one. And in this tool also you can see crossword and etc. So you may use all of them for free. And at the same time, there are some more tools which can be used by paying some amount of money. But still, I think the free ones are also enough to design your own materials for teaching vocabulary. And at the below, you can see one link. And this is, if you go through this link, you can see my materials, which I created for my own class. It's for checking students' vocabulary from school things. So in this way, you may create your own. And now Ferengis will share one more tool, useful tool, which you can use.
Thank you very much. So here is another practical tool, which we name it Quizlet. When you really in a challenging situation with the explanation of words, you may here easily use Quizlet as your assistant. In the left side of it, you may see here that the unit, which I have created it already, it's for my classroom. When you go to the steps which are given on the left side, you may easily follow the words or the lessons that you already created for your learners. You may include any topic, you may include any words, or you may even include pictures here in order to demonstrate the meaning of the word, new word. You don't have to spend much time for creating other types of questions like matching or the testing or multiple choice. It will automatically create itself different types of questions when you just include the information for your learners. Here I have used the Unit 1's vocabulary for young learners. When you go to the learners, in the first picture you can see the uh, multiple choice questions here. Yeah, here you can see the picture and just the definition of it, and your learners have to choose one of them. In the second where you can go to flashcards, you can come across to the words with definitions, with pictures, and with spellings, where your learners can know the word, can define its meaning, and can easily imagine with its picture, and as well as can pronounce it in a correct way. So in the third picture, if you see the colors, you can hide the vocabularies, words under the colors. When you go to the orange, you may see another word. When you go to green, you may hide another word. And in this way, you can enhance your learners' critical thinking and their comprehension and their adaptability to the different questions and different words. In the last here test part, you may see that the different tests which are going your where your learners are going to be tested uh, after going through the steps which we have already discussed it here. So if you go to the link after the webinar, we are going to share our PPT and the materials to our main channel, and you may open and get the links for our examples and activities where we already created for our learners. So in the next slide, you can see useful links and tools for your colorful lesson, where you can make it very fun and very energetic. Here are the links and here are the tools. So Tanya.
Thank you very much, Ferengis. Now, yeah, let's conclude as we are lacking of our time. So as David Crystal claimed that vocabulary is a matter of word building as well as word using. Therefore, if you are teaching your students foreign language, please be sure that you are teaching them vocabulary, and not just about teaching, you're presenting, you're revising, and you are claiming something to produce as well. So now let's reflect a little bit about what we had for today. So can you please share your expressions and about this very webinar for today? Can you please type or unmute yourself and say? So this is very important for us as well to reflect.
Ella, you were raising your hand.
Good job. Good.
Ferengis, I heard you mention my name. Is it correct?
Yes. You were raising your hand.
Yes, I was actually about to type that. I will definitely check and explore more all the tools that you shared today, because some of them were familiar to me, but the good amount of them was absolutely new information, and I'm very thankful to this current team who shared this wonderful information with us. And I myself feel better equipped with how to teach, revise, and stimulate students to produce vocabulary in my lesson in this upcoming year. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you very much for your reflection as well. Thank you too for your contribution, for your active participation. So we hope that this very webinar was a bit like, let's say, effective for you, just in order to implement the things that we have provided to you. Please develop yourselves, have fun with your students, and don't force them to learn everything by heart. Just play with them, just have fun and engage them and motivate them as well. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have got any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you so much.
Any questions? Okay, thank you very
No
much.
questions.
I have
Yes,
no
no.
questions. Thank you.
No
Thank you.
questions.
you very much.
Thank you. Good job.
Okay, thank you very much for being with us, for joining this webinar for today, and hope you will explore more in the following webinars as well. Please stay tuned and see you next time.
See you.
See you, everyone. Thank you for joining.